This episode of the Gamerheads Podcast is brought to you by Seven Bridges Premium Gourmet Yum Yum Sauce. Enhance every bite with our savory blends of flavors, perfect for meats, vegetables, and crispy treats. Whether you're dipping, drizzling, marinating, grilling, roasting, or snacking, Seven Bridges Yum Yum Sauce takes your culinary experience to the next level. Get yours today and make every meal a gourmet delight.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Megacat Studios.
Hey folks, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite and the Fun and Games Podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush Podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bonte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience Podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hi, I'm Jacob McCourt from the Left Behind Game Club, Crossplay Conversations, and Video Game Trivia.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam from Respawn Aimfire.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi, everyone. Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hello, this is the Crypt Master, and you're listening to Roger You're listening to Roger on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads Podcast. My name is Roger. This week I have a very special guest. I have Paul Salomon. He is the creative director for GameHead Games. Paul, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's amazing to be here with the Gamerheads, representing GameHead, and thank you.
Yeah, you know, when I went to PAX East and I got to play some of the games, I was like, oh my goodness, this feels like a fit. Gamerheads, GameHead, right?
Yeah,
like it just
perfect,
seems,
yeah,
perfect. So we'll be talking about some of the games that I got to play and get a little bit more from you. But before we get into all of that, tell us about your background and what got you into gaming and game design in the first place.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. I really started playing modern hobby games in about 2013, I would say. A little before that, I started playing Ticket to Ride with some friends that invited me over, and I was playing a lot of Diplomacy. I'm a math teacher, I part-time now, but I was full-time for, I don't know, a long time. And in my department, we had a big Diplomacy game going for a while, and it was department members that brought me over. And then I guess sometime around 2015, maybe, I started designing my own games, and eventually met enough people to sort of make a decent game, and then pitch it to some people, and met John Covey from Genius Games and Jamie Stegmeyer from Stonemaier Games, all St. Louis folks, and eventually Elf Creek Games from this area, and published Honeybuzz. And then a couple of science games, Periodic and Genotype, and over the years have just sort of kept working on it. And now I'm creative director for GameHead, which is an amazing gig. And really before that, I studied mathematics, got a master's in math, and I've always been kind of a maker. I did music for a long time, and I made math-inspired visual art for a number of years. And first thing I ever wanted to be as a kid was a poet. So I like
really?
When you see some stuff. Yeah, I'm not a poet, but there was something about seeing, the way that people make things, I think is really cool. And everything around us, somebody made at some point. And so you think to yourself, like, why not me? I remember my parents taking me to like a drive-in or something. I think we were seeing Indiana Jones. I was very young, but I remember like maybe I was getting a little spooked, and my dad was like, both my parents are actors. And so they were like, you just remember, like, these are just normal people, like doing, it's just normal. And so I always had that view of like, the things around us are just normal people do them. And so this job that I have, if you had told me as a kid that this is something that people do, like, it would have made sense. But I think it's sort of, we have to remove the veil a little bit and go like, oh yeah, somebody could do that. Why not me?
Yeah. No, I love that. And also I love the fact that you can now say math can help you create things, right? Like
no question. And I teach that to my kids all the time because just like everything else, math was made up by people too. And so why can't we be the ones that make up the math? That's a big part of the lessons in the classroom.
I love that. I wish I had you as a math teacher, because I will say math is not my, I went to school for history, so math is not my.
Sure. There's a lot of people that have that same experience, you know?
Yeah. So I love that. And one thing that I learned while I was at PAX is that GameHead grew out of GamerMats.
Right.
Can you talk about that inspiration of shifting from GamerMats and then shifting into creating and publishing board games?
Yeah. So even the story goes even further back a little bit, because GamerMats grew out of the success of Pastimes, which is a big events group that does like all of the Magic tournaments and Lorcana tournaments at places like Gen Con and MagicCons, which is very successful, and actually grew out of a store in Chicago called Pastimes, which is just a, card store, game store, a little bit of comic store that's been there for 33 years. And so along the way, Alan Hockman, the president and founder of GamerMats and GameHead, said, play mats are big in that card game space. Like, what does it take to get it done? And the answer is you have to buy some stuff and you have to buy some machines. And so for I don't know how many years, they've been printing custom play mats in Chicago in this 10,000 square foot production facility and warehouse, which is really cool. And then along the way, they sort of started wanting to make tumblers and pins and stickers and eventually games, and sort of needed a larger umbrella brand to hold those things. It's very similar to what BoardGameTables.com did when they became All Play.
Yeah.
And so we followed a lot of the same model there. And they had like a few games that they had interest in when I came on. They had one game that they had already signed that was sort of handed to me. But I think they realized that they didn't have a ton of experience or knowledge about how to make games, and they wanted to bring somebody in that had. And I had worked as head of development at Elf Creek Games for a couple of years, and really in that time had learned everything that I would need to do quoting and actual gameplay development and art and graphic design work and interfacing with China and all sorts of stuff. So it was an awesome fit.
Yeah. I suppose that's a lot in being a creative director. And what you just said there is it goes from creating games to, now marketing and working with different groups, right? So
For sure. And that was in my first year, like I started in October 24. And then by July 25, which is not much later, 9 months later, we had 6 games that were in our warehouse and in stores. So that alone was a huge amount of work. It was like literally, 5 to 30 times faster than we were working at Elf Creek. And I was teaching 3 math classes at the same time. And then, like you said, as soon as the games got in our warehouse, my job sort of doubled, because now I had to work on sales sheets and invoices and international sales and a little bit of helping with freight stuff. And luckily, just a month or two ago, we hired Ryan Schoon from MVM to be our head of sales and marketing, and Mark Burke, the Chubby Meeple, to do sort of e-commerce and logistics. So that's been a big help for me. But it also means that we've increased our output, and we're trying to do like 9 games a year, 9 to 12 games a year. So it's a lot to be doing. And, I'm doing most of the creative stuff. Obviously, I have illustrators and graphic designers, and there's a ton of people worldwide that help me, but there's a lot of my plate still. Yeah. And I do still teach 2 classes in the morning. Yeah.
That's awesome. One of the things that I really love about your games, and it stood out to me, was how quickly you can start playing, that the rules are short, the time to set up are short, and even a game session aren't, at least the games I played, are no longer than an hour long. Mm-hmm. Was that always part of your initial plan or the initial mission, or did that evolve over time?
Yeah, that was actually, we sort of had, or really Alan had this initial concept, which was to come to market with like 6 games at the same time to try to establish a brand right away and say, this is sort of what the consistency looks like. Everything is in this size box. Everything is at this price point. And the thing that you just said, we sell like a retailer display that you can put on your countertop, and it has the set up. And one of the things that's set on the front there is like 5-minute setup, 5-minute teach, 40-minute playtime. And it's really like 20 to 40. Some of our casual games are really quick. And like you said, even a first-time play with pretty thinky players will be under an hour. But really like sort of 30 to 40 minutes is where a lot of the sweet spot is for these things. And that was absolutely by design, because it's just really important that, especially as you're trying to teach new players, that they get it right away and that you don't have to like convince them that it's worth their time. It needs to have some sort of, first, it needs to have really good visual appeal and theme so that they even want to look at it and then pick it up and touch it and stuff. And then after that, it needs to have some kind of gameplay or thematic or component hook that makes them want to really play with it more. So all that has to be communicated really, really quickly to a user. And then there's one more piece of the games, which is that they all fit pretty much on a bar top table, on like a 30-inch round table. So when we demo on those, and that's part of the design, is fitting inside of that footprint. So some of them use a hand of cards. But at the same time, even though our boxes are 6x6x12, we're able to fit in a lot of big stuff. Like I have a board for our new game, Friendly Fishing, that it fits in our 6-inch box, but it's a 6-panel board that folds out to 1 foot by 1.5 feet. And so it really feels like you've got a substantial game in a little box. And then the last thing I'll say is that I designed the boxes so that they could fit 2 sets of cards next to each other, side by side, 2 decks. And then 2 of them could sit side by side on a Kallax shelf, and 6 could stack tall in a Kallax shelf. So we're coming up on the point where you can have a full Kallax cube of just GameHead games.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And it's interesting when you said that, because when I was at Boston, that's how all the games were displayed, were just on those round tables. And
that's right.
That makes sense, right? Like, and that's the other thing that did stand out to me when I was playing the games too. And I got to play the what is it? It's the fishing game. What is that one called again?
Friendly Fishing.
Friendly Fishing. Yeah. Just how well put together the board is, and just the presentation of all of that is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I'll say 2 things. One is that it's awesome to have a playmat company, because our demo tables have really awesome custom mats for every game. And then it also allows us to like sell a playmat for every game. So Friendly Fishing has this awesome wrapped edge, 6-panel board with amazing art by Alicia Giroux. But then you can also go on the website and get a 14 by 24 inch playmat board with alternate art and just all that's really nice. But yes, you're right that I tried to put a ton of focus into the presentation and the component quality, because all of our games are at $20. That's something we were committed to from the start, even when tariffs were crazy and inflation has shot up. But like every board I put in, it has wrapped edges, and I'm screen printing wood all the time. And like the game that we have coming out right now, Trick to the Future, every game comes with 5 dual layered player boards. So I just try to make sure that we deliver that. I think, and the inside of the box has printing on the inside, and we're doing UV and all that stuff and finding a way to make it work. I think there's a lot of gamers that are just commoners, let's say, that just walk into the game store, want something for Saturday, don't pay attention to that, but it still has a subtle effect. You know that you're touching something that's nice, that feels cool. Yeah. I think I played, I have a Corgi Pile-Up, and I played that with a bunch of my coworkers, and that's the first thing they said too, was like, oh, this board feels really solid. It's really like, then everybody was picking it up, looking at it, right? They just loved the look and feel of it. So yeah, again, to have that like 1 foot square board pop out of a little box is cool. And then you've got 7 screen printed wood discs with different art on each one. And we actually just released a set of promo tokens for that game There's 3 more discs in 3 more colors with 3 more little tokens. I don't remember the price. It's a couple bucks on our website. But that allows you to play to 10 players instead of the base game's 2 to 7. But there's enough cards in the game to play with 10 if you give each player 5 cards. So hopefully some folks will like it. Maybe they just like the colors or they want the one that has a doghouse on it. But maybe there's some big families out there that want to play with a lot of folks.
Yeah, I love that. So we talked about some of the games, but let's go in depth with that. What are some of the current games that you'd recommend checking out and what makes them stand out to you?
Yeah. So first of all, in our first wave, we had 6 games. And we have 3 lines of games. We have casual games, party games, and thinky games. And the party games, of course, accommodate a lot of players. The casual games often can be a little goofy or chaotic or, less balanced, let's say. And then the thinky games are really anything for gamers looking for strategic replayability. So the first one I would recommend to everyone that is nerdy enough and deep enough in this hobby to listen to a podcast would be Trinket Trove. Trinket Trove is a set collection bidding trading game, let's say, with art from Sandara Tang, who did Critter Kitchen and Flamecraft and is just an incredible talent, and a design by Rocco Privatera. It's a lot like Reiner Knizia's Money. You have a hand of trinkets, and each round you're sort of like these critters that live in the margins of the human world, like sort of Secret World of Arrietty or Rats of Nim or An American Tale, things like that. And each night you go into the house and you pull these little trinkets to use in your home, like a thimble for a flower pot or gears for a wind chime. And you dump them out on the table and everybody sort of wants to figure out who gets what. And so you offer to trade trinkets from your hand. And the more things you offer, the earlier you will get to pick. But everything you offer to trade gets traded. And so the cards that you gain will go to other people unless you hold on to them. And then at the end of like 7 rounds or so, you score the trinkets that are in your hand. So it's really, the first thing is that, again, the art is just drop dead gorgeous. And then the gameplay is really fun. And a lot of people say like, oh, I'm not very good at bidding, but this feels a little bit more like trading than bidding. And that's a really neat one. Have you played Trinket Trove?
I have. And I in one of the things that I really love about like all the games is that there is an element of like familiarity, right? So like, oh, I know how to play Rummy, and that feels like there's elements of that in the game, right?
Right.
So,
deciding on what to keep in your hand versus what to trade out, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's also a lot like Fantasy Realms. I think Rocco, the designer, I think his initial concept was, I want to do something with Fantasy Realms where there's things on the table you're trading in and out with, but it's simpler. And so the combos in the deck are much simpler. It's just, sets of 3 or sets of 4 or sets of 5, and you just want that thing, but they score in different ways. And some of them, like crayons, actually are worth less points the more you get until you get 4.
Yeah.
And then they start to be a lot of good points. So some interesting twists. The second one that I would recommend to basically all gamers is No Loose Ends. This was, I believe this was Mike DeLisio's trick-taking game of the year for 2025. And that is by the amazing Taiki Shinzawa, who is sort of the master of the Japanese trick-taking card game genre. And this is a fairly standard must-follow trick-taking game with a trump suit and predictive bidding, which is to say you get your hand of cards and you predict how you're going to win tricks. You predict how many tricks you're going to win, for example. But the twist is that your bid comes from your hand. So you take a card from your hand and you put it on the table to say you're going to win a trick. But you're not just predicting how many tricks, you're predicting how you'll win those tricks. So if I put a red 3 on the table, I am saying that I will win a trick with a 3, or I will win a trick that is red. And you're also shaping your hand because maybe I just got rid of all of my something in my hand. So now I can go off suit and play trumps more often. There's a couple of other little wrinkles in there. The scoring is neat. And If anybody likes trick-taking games, they should immediately look into it. It's also it's not the original theme. And I worked with Pete Wissinger, who co-designed Origin Story and did Crits and Tricks, and co-host on the Decision Space podcast. And he came up with this very cool theme, which is that you are bank robbers planning a heist, and everything that you plan to steal leaves evidence behind. And you want to cover up that evidence to leave no loose ends. So the cards you put down, the 4 suits are like fingerprints, footprints, key evidence, and like surveillance or something like that. And then when you win a trick, you cover those up. So it's really cool and thematic. And then the last one maybe I'll mention is Foolish Fool. It is a literal LOL party game. And I think it's flown under the radar with gamers somewhat because they're a little more serious. But the people that we play games with a lot, our families, our coworkers, are not as serious as we are. And when you put this game on the table, I'm telling you, 30 seconds into every game, people are literally laughing out loud. And I think that's a really rare party game. It's silly. You just flip out a card and it tells you a new rule that you have to follow. Like you have to call everybody Karen, or before your turn, you have to say, stop, this is important. And if people don't follow the rules and they get caught, then they lose a token. And if you lose all 3 tokens, then you're the Foolish Fool. And we all laugh and have fun. Nice. So that's half of our Wave 1. Any others that you played in Wave 1?
I've played the spy cover up one. I played
no
that one.
Yep.
Yeah. No loose ends. And what's fun, what I loved about that one is that I played with my daughter, and when we played, I was totally underbidding, right? Because I was, and then I was, oh man, I'm losing way more points now because so then I went overbid and then I lost points. Yeah. It was really fun. It was really well done, and we had a really blast with it. And then I played Pile Up Corgi, Corgi Pile Up, sorry. And that one is a favorite of everybody in my household. Like they absolutely love that one. Yeah.
That one has really cute art from Sai Beppu. She's just the perfect choice for that. Actually, both of those games, No Loose Ends and Corgi Pile Up, are both Sai Beppu art, and it really adds charm to it. I'm glad to hear you guys like Corgi Pile Up. That's a cool game.
Yeah. It's a really fun game, and it's really quick to learn too. Like all of them are, for sure. But
yeah, exactly.
Like I didn't have to read the directions. I can just talk like, here's how you play this game, and blah blah blah, and everybody's like, oh, okay, I get it, right? So
totally cool. Yeah, and we have our Wave 2, which is another 5 games, and they're coming out probably this June. Well, they're in production now, so they should arrive in June. And I'll tell you some of them. We have this time we just have one party game, but it is an amazing, amazing party game. This is called Sizewise. It comes to us from Scott Brady, who did Hues and Cues and did Boop. And this game is, well, obviously it's a party game about the size of things. You'll flip over a card and it will ask you a question like, what's the size of a drumstick? And there is no right answer to that question, partly because, well, I don't know if you were talking about the drumstick you play drums with or the drumstick you eat. So there might be some confusion there. But this is a groupthink game. So everybody has this very unique toyetic tactile component, which is a string. It has a bead on it that can slide up and down, and it has a ring on one side. And so when it's asked what's the size of a drumstick, everyone slides their bead to lock in their answer, and then you hang them all next to each other, and whoever is the shortest and the longest were unwise. And everybody in the middle was Sizewise, and they get to keep all their wisdom tokens, but the shortest and the longest lose a wisdom token. It is just lightning fast. It is really fun. Sometimes you'll have questions like, what is the size of a leprechaun? And there's clearly no right answer there, but you will have people that will show 4 inches, and you will have people that will show 2'6", because these strings are about 3 foot long. And it's just really fun and cool and fast. It takes, 30 seconds or less to teach, and by that time you're playing. And actually at conventions, starting at Geekway to the West in a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, we will have, I think, a 2x scale size-wise to show off. So the string will actually be 6 feet, and the cards will be 5 by 7.
Wow.
And, it'll be really fun. And then it also opens up a whole new world of questions like, what's the size of a chair? What's the size of a floor lamp? What's the size of a dachshund? And it's just really, really fun. So I'm excited to share that with people. Size-wise is going to be an awesome, awesome party game. Then we have 2 casual games in this line. One is Pet Quartet, which, have you ever played Coloretto?
I haven't.
Okay.
But I'm familiar with the concept, though.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like, I think, sort of like, no, I guess it's not like Biblios, but you basically have a deck of things that you're collecting, and this is true for Coloretto and Pet Quartet. And on your turn, you either flip a card and add it to one of these piles on the table. That's your whole turn. Or you take one of the piles, and then you're out of the round. And so there's this little bit of pressure luck, because every time I put a card down, everybody else at the table gets a chance to take that pile before I do. So I'm either going to grow the things that we take, or I'm going to take those things and go out of the round. In this game, the things are adorable musical pets that have amazing names. And we are trying to collect either soloists or quartets. So for every number in the game, every type of card in the game, we want to have exactly one of them or exactly 4 of them, which can be sort of tricky because there are 4 4s in the deck and 5 5s and 6 6s and 7 7s and 13 13. So it's going to be pretty hard to have a 13 as a soloist, right? But 4 is probably likely. So how fast do I get 4? Because if I get 4 too fast, then I'll get my 5th and I won't get points. But just to give you some names here from the game, all of the 4s, like all of the 3s are snakes that are playing like some weird instruments. So you have like Mamba number 3, who plays a didgeridoo. You have Rick Astley, who is playing, I think, a triangle maybe, and you have Coral King. The 4s are basically the Beatles, but they're all turtles. So you have Carl McCartney and George Tortosin and John Shellman, and the drummer is Won't Go Far, because of course he's a turtle. The 6s are a string ensemble that are rabbits. We have Brittany Ears, for example, Yo-Yo Hop. The 10s are birds that sing, like Justin Beakbird or Cardinal Bee. Some of the best ones, I really like the Jazz Cats. That's 9, like Cats Waller and Meows Davis. But then the 11s are a marching band. So we have Flute Sky Marcher and also Annika N Sky Marcher. And then there's a chameleon in here whose name is Olivia Where'd She Go? So I think there's 88 unique illustrations, all with unique names. And Eric Slauson, I hired him to be the punsultant on the game. And so he helped me write a lot of the really good. That one's going to be awesome. That's Pet Quartet. And then let's see, what else is in the casual line? We release so many games sometimes that I can't remember. Friendly Fishing is the other game in the casual line. And this one has amazing art from Alicia Giroux. It's designed by Bruno Faiduti and Alex Randolph. Alex Randolph is a sort of legendary designer of old, and Bruno updated one of his designs. This is a really interesting game. Everybody is in the same boat thematically, having an afternoon fishing on the pond. And in that pond, there are lots of different types of fish: green fish, red fish, yellow fish, blue fish, blunkers, dinkers, shiners, all kinds of fish, and some junk, some tires and boots. And all those things are laid out face up on this grid. And on your turn, you just move the boat one step and collect the tile. And of course, the tiles score in different ways. You're trying to, get a lot of these or 2 of those, something like that. Some of them have special actions. I move, I take, and then my left neighbor moves and takes, and we just go around the table like this. The big twist here is that every point scored by my left neighbor, I also score. So my final score is mine plus my left neighbor's, and theirs is their points plus their left neighbor. So every time that I move the boat, I want to get a good tile for me, but I also especially want to set up my friend for a good turn. And it's a really unique semi-co-op sort of experience that is also really relaxing and beautiful and charming. And so I'm hoping that's one that families will really enjoy. That's Friendly Fishing.
Yeah.
Are those both ones that you got to see? All those ones you saw at PAX?
I did, yeah. And yeah, the Friendly Fishing seemed really interesting because, like you said, that you are trying to help your partner or to your left, right? But that person doesn't want you to do well, right? Like, I just thought that's a really fascinating idea. And the size wise too, I got to check that one out as well. And we played where the elf's shoes, the size of an elf's shoe. And the first thing I asked, are we talking Keebler? Are we talking D&D?
Right.
And Ryan was like, that's up for you. Yeah, don't know. That's for you to decide. And I was like, that's really cool. Yeah, I love that.
And I really like the ones where there's not a right answer, especially because it's like a unicorn's horn. But also there's ones like, what's the size of a pirate's hook? And it's like, well, how do you even measure the size of a pirate's hook? Like, do you count the curly part, or, does it just from the bottom to the top? And the game doesn't say. It just says, what's the size of, and everybody has to sort of think about that. So then this Wave 2 rounds out with 2 more games, both in our Thinky line. One I'm really excited about is called Wild Magic. This is from the great Dr. Rainer Knizia. Dr. Knizia also has a PhD in mathematics. So between the two of us, that's like 2 advanced degrees in mathematics. And we've published like 700 games or so between the two of us. And Wild Magic is a set collection card game with some interactivity. It's inspired a bit by Avatar: The Last Airbender. And a little bit Mistborn. You have element cards like for different styles of magic. So there's blue water form cards, or purple shadow craft, or lava form, or flame work, etc. And the mechanisms are interesting. You have a board out in front of you, in front of everybody in the table. And on your turn, most of the time, probably you draw 2 cards, but you have to discard something into the middle. So your hand grows, but so does the thing in the middle. This is sort of like power pooling into these sacred wells. And eventually what you're trying to do is play in front of yourself a meld, which is a bunch of cards of the same color. There's also Wild Magic cards that you can use for any color, but you want to play these big melds in front of you because every one of the symbols on them will be a point at the end of the game. However, at the end of the game, whoever has the weakest meld of each color has to discard it and score no points. So you pay close attention to what people have, what they're interested in melding. And as these pools grow and grow and grow in the middle of the table, one of your options on your turn is, instead of drawing 2 and discarding, you just take all the cards from the central pool. But then you must meld. So you can sometimes get 3, 4, 5 cards there, which is essentially free points, but other players have sort of passed on it. And so if I know that you've already melded green and maybe you can't meld green again, and there's a bunch of cultivation cards in the middle, I can just sort of let that build and let that build. It also comes with, this has art by Jackie Davis, who did Ex Libris and other gorgeous games. And it comes with these guardians, which are sort of like dual animals. There's one that's like a lion and a wolf kind of looking thing, or there's like an owl that's also a cat, or an eagle, fox, things like this. And these basically sit on top of one of the elements, and when you meld that color, they give you some special effect, like draw cards or take cards or trade cards or all kinds of stuff. And that adds a ton of variability and really beautiful art. So that's Wild Magic. Super surprising, I think, how good the gameplay is. And the last one is maybe the one I'm the most excited about, and that is another Taiki Shinzawa trick-taking game. This one is Trick to the Future, which is, of course, a time-traveling trick-taking game, which is a theme that might be somewhat confusing. Is this one that you saw as well?
I did see this one, yeah.
So you really got the whole view. You saw it all.
I did see, yeah, I did actually. It was very cool. I didn't get to play it. I didn't get to really play the last 2, like the in this one. But just I got to see the and it was really neat. I loved this one too.
Cool. So this one, again, again, it's time traveling, sort of a la Back to the Future. It's reminiscent of that. Of course, we have a wood panel station wagon on the front of our box, so it's definitely distinct. And the suits in this game are past, present, future, and beyond, with beyond being the Trump suit. And the cards all have digital numbers in the middle. So 7-segment display, like you would see, say, in the middle of a DeLorean or on a digital clock. And every player has a dual-layered player board in front of them with a number of fuel rods. And those fuel rods are just like Catan Road, white wooden sticks. But when you play a card, you can spend fuel to time travel and essentially put that stick onto the digital number on the card and change its value. So if you have a 0, you can put a stick right in the middle and now it's an 8. Or if you have a 7, you can put 3 sticks down and now it's a 0, which will perhaps let you lose a trick. Every trick you win is good. That's a successful time jump, and it should be worth 2 points to you. But also all the sticks that were on the cards of the tricks you win are also good. They're bonus points. With another little twist, and that is that at the end of the hand, when all the tricks have been won, you need to have some fuel left over to make your jump home. You've time traveled. If you won 3 tricks, then you've done 3 successful time jumps. You had better save 3 fuel rods to get back. And if you don't, if you have 2 or less in that case, you would get no points. If you had 4, if you had more than you needed, that's a safe journey, and you would score the 2 points per trick and 1 per stick. But if you had exactly 3 sticks left, 3 tricks, then that's a perfect journey, and you score double points for that.
Whoa.
So there's this press your luck scoring, and of course, as soon as you have 3 tricks and 3 sticks left, I can force you maybe to win another trick so that you're lost in time. And just like No Loose Ends, because the bidding information is sort of on the table publicly, it really allows special interaction and table talk to, have a dynamic in the card play. And also, the art is just so cool. The dual layered player boards are so cool. And it's probably one of my top 3 trick taking games of all time.
Wow.
The other ones being perhaps No Loose Ends, and one that we're going to print in our wave 3 or 4. So lots of good stuff going on at GameHead.
That's awesome.
Busy, as I said. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing that impresses me the most is the fact that, you had 6 games at launch, and now you're looking at another 5 or 6 games here. Like that's a
right.
lot. That's a lot. Of
It
games.
is a lot. Yeah. It's a lot of movement. And, luckily I have team. I work with this guy, John Merchant. He's kind of like my number 1 graphic designer. I don't think I could be doing it without his assistance and, basically being affordable to me and my project budgets and stuff. And then, of course, I work with all of these amazing artists, Alicia Giroux, Sai Beppu, George Bletsis, Jackie Davis, Bianca Papalardo, and all of them, they are nice enough to respond to all of my feedback and somewhat demanding, hey, let's keep working, let's keep tweaking, especially in the early stage where you're trying to set the aesthetic right. And so they're very generous with their time. And then I try to be really generous with the payments.
Nice. Well, can I ask a question? How do you decide which games to publish then? And when you're reviewing pitches, what stands out for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. And first of all, anybody listening, if you have a design that you think is ready to be pitched, you know that we're looking for a 5-minute setup, 5-minute teach, 20 to 40 gameplay, casual games, thinky games, party games, $20, 6x6 by 2-inch box. So if you think you've got something that fits, just email paul@gamehead.com and I will take a look. I've probably got 80 to 100 pitch emails in my email right now waiting for review. Obviously, I have a lot of other things to also be doing, so I sort of have to wait. I'm like always looking, but I'm rarely hungry,
Yeah.
But we're getting to the point where I have to go back and look at those. So what I do is I require a 2 to 4 minute pitch video that just sort of outlines the key features and hooks and key concepts of the game. If someone doesn't send me that, I won't really consider the game. Doesn't have to be high quality. Just, shoot on the iPhone. Tell me what it is. And again, I'm looking for all those criteria, but I'm looking for something that I think I can put a really nice thematic implementation on and really high capacity for art and component design. And then I'm hoping to see something that's a little bit feels special or unique. That's a little bit different. I will say I try to stay away from a lot of card text because that limits the ages that you can deal with. I also try to stay away from restrictive player counts. I'd like everything to at least go 2 to 5. So with both Trick to the Future and No Loose Ends, those were original 3 to 4 player count games. And we Pete Wissinger and I, with some development, changed that to 2 to 5. That's important to us. And then, if I'm honest, there's a sort of a second layer, which is trying to know a little bit about the people that I'm going to be working with. And I think something really important for me is if someone can tell you what the game is pretty quickly. And the core of a game is not in every detail of the rules, right? Because you need to have something that you can say, obviously, first of all, in something like this or at a convention or whatever. But when I play your game, Roger, I need to go to my friends the next day and go, oh my God, you have to play this game because it has this.
Yeah.
And I don't have time and they don't have time to listen to the whole thing, right? I have to be able to say, it has these cards, but you can put sticks on it to change the number, right? Or it's a set collection game, but I score all of my neighbors' points too, and they score their neighbors, even just it has 88 unique cards with these really punny names like Meows Davis. So I'm looking for something like that. I don't want anything that feels kind of overwrought. There's certain kind of like weight level, complexity level thresholds that we're looking at. Sometimes there's a game that just sort of fits between casual and thinky, and that's sort of a bad place for us because it's a little too complex for families to be interested in, but it's also maybe not strategic enough for gamers to be interested in. And I publish a lot of sort of light games. I think Trinket Trove is fairly light, but it has something strategic in it that is really interesting and engaging for gamers. So some of those things, it also, obviously, it needs to fit in our box. And so if it has some gigantic board or it just has too many components, sometimes I can find a way to shrink those down and sometimes you just can't. And it's an obvious no.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have in mind each year when you're coming up with the games, do you have in mind, I'm going to have so many thinky games, so many casual games, so many party games? Do you have that kind of in mind when you're releasing games?
Well, in the first wave, it could have been anything. It was like we were developing what GameHead would be as a game company. And so everything from this design of the box to how the branding would look consistently across boxes was up in the air. Like all of our games, for example, feature, well, they were built to fit in this display. That was a key piece. And all of them have, people don't seem to notice this much, which is really good for me, but the top edge is upside down, you might say. So when it's standing straight up, you can read that from the front. And that's a key feature just to like fit in our thing. But, when I came on, we didn't have the 3 game lines. And so it was trying to figure out what kinds of games can we publish and how do we tell people what they are. So we really wanted to go pretty wide in our offerings and try to catch strategy gamers, the people that watch videos and listen to podcasts, but also people that go into the game shop. Maybe they go in for Magic, but they say like, we want something to play with my grandma who likes Boggle. And you say like, First Class Letters is 100% the game you should buy and it's $20.
Yeah.
So we sort of eventually put that in 2 and 2 and 2. And then in wave 2, it's too thinky, too casual, 1 party. but I've got 2 party games in the hopper, and I've got another 2 thinky game. Or I guess there's one game that's kind of in between. Could be thinky, could be casual. But it gets a little off now. Like, I don't think I've got these 2 party games that are great. And so our wave 3 right now is a casual game and 2 party games. I don't really want to wait on a party game. I don't really want to kick a party game down the timeline just to try to rush up a thinky game. Yeah. So I've considered it, but I think, it's probably going to be hard enough to just make 3 games every 4 months. So I'll just try to get whatever I can get out and hope that they're good.
Do you ever see yourself? I mean, do you think that it's always going to be those 3 categories? Do you ever think you're going to expand to something else?
I'm interested in a 2-player line, because they're pretty popular, and obviously a 2-player game could fit in thinky line or a casual game line, not really party game line. But I think I would just specifically say 2-player game on the box instead of thinky or casual. And I've got I've definitely got a few designs in my email, and one that they're sending me a prototype of and I'm thinking about. And there was a game that we had signed that I was going to publish that was a really good 2-player thinky game, but we ended up passing on that. So that's one. I think that co-op games is another one that has some potential, but co-op games are pretty hard to design for replayability, I think. Especially like something like, there's some great co-op trick-taking games. Obviously, we have The Crew and we have the Lord of the Rings sets, but those really and Sail, those really thrive on their variability through, missions, right? Different, I don't know what you would call it. It's not quite a campaign, but different gameplay settings, scenarios. And most of them don't have that. So I don't know, co-op's probably the trickiest one. And then the last thing is that we are considering a line of $40 games, which would fit, it would basically be 2 of our $20 boxes connected side to side. So if you imagine sort of the older classic style board game boxes that were long rectangles, right?
Yeah.
That's really what we would be looking at. And then they would fit alongside our other games really nicely in our display and on Kallax shelves. So there's a re-implementation of a Reiner Knizia game, which is very cool. And I'm really happy they offered me the rights to it. I'm trying to get actually a really great license for this, an IP. They have not responded to my emails, so I don't think that will happen, but we'll see. And then there's a Bruno Faiduti, Leo Colovini game called Vabank, which is, it's like a 10 from Tom Vassell. It might be like his number 1 bluffing game of all time. And we have the rights to that. So that might be in our $40 box, but it's a casual game. And I don't know how much casual games will sell at $40, but those are the things we're looking at.
Cool. That's
a lot
awesome.
of different styles. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I was going to say too. And I didn't mention this before, but just how I love the fact that the games are affordable too. Like, I think that is such a huge thing, especially for my family. We have lots and lots and lots of games. We do. Like, we have board games and it can be pretty expensive to go out.
Yeah.
So $20 is like a really great, and even $40, I would say, like, for something that is a little bit, bigger, like you said, compared to some of the games I see now, like $100, for a lot of games out there. So
yeah, and a lot of the Kickstarter things, obviously, there are big numbers on Kickstarter that sort of open your eyes and make you go, whoa. But, Kickstarter's a teeny fraction of the people that play games. And even Board Game Geek is a teeny little nothing of the market of people that play games. Wingspan, a huge seller. I would bet you that 90% plus of those people have never even heard of Board Game Geek. And we want to try to show them good games and give them a chance. And if they walk up to the counter of, a toy store and they see size-wise, it's going to be easier for them to understand what it is and convert and buy it for their family game night than it is for them to buy a $50 game that has all the blinged out things that gamers like. So I try to thread the needle a little bit. Like I said, I try to make things that folks like you and I will be excited about, but also things that are affordable. Sometimes I push the margins a little bit, but in general, even when I go to a $40 box, I expect that we'll have some really nice, gold foil or UV or screen printed meeples, that kind of stuff. I mean, the dice in First Class Letters are unbelievable. So in First Class Letters, it's a word game. It's a roll and write word game, and you roll these letter dice and you use them to make words. Okay, but with some other twists, there's cool gameplay there. But the theme here is like First Class Letters. It's postal themed. And I designed Stamp Swap, so it's maybe not surprising that I like a postal theme. And the letter dice represent these packages that are sort of falling down the back of this, out of the back of this mail truck. And so the dice are these big, chunky wooden dice that have this sort of brownish package color on them. But they also have like 3 more colors of screen printing. There's like a black and a white and a red on them.
Oh my gosh.
And they just look amazing. They look like packages and you want to pick them up and play with them. And, I'm proud that we're able to put something like that into a $20 box.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For a game that plays 1 to 1 billion players.
That's awesome. For those that are looking to seeing like what kind of games you offer or maybe follow what you're doing, where should they go?
I would say first off, go to GameHead.com and sign up for our newsletter, probably towards the bottom of the page. And then, of course, you'll get emails about every new release as it comes out, pre-orders, maybe some GameMat details and special products. Like we just released 6 new promo character tiles for Trinket Trove. All of these are based on they're inspired by, let's say, famous characters. Like in the base game, we have Bernard, and now we have Bianca, inspired by the Rescuers. Yeah. We have Willie, who certainly looks a lot like Steamboat Willie. We have Philly, who is Fievel Mouskowitz from one of my favorite movies. We have, who else is in there? Cosgrove, who's sort of like the Mr. Mole from Wind in the Willows, and a couple others that are just amazing. So those are all up on the website. I think the set of all 6 of them is only $10, or you can get each one separately for $2 if you wanted. And then the other place to follow along would be probably Instagram, best of all. And that's at GameHead Games on Instagram. And then on TikTok, I can't quite remember what it is. It might be at GameHead.games or at game.head or something. Check us out there.
Nice. Yeah. And I will say, in one of your newsletters, one of our reviews or previews were in the newsletter. So.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, we always feature... We always anybody that posts on Instagram, we tend to reshare that on our story. And if you send us stuff, we love to show it back off.
Nice. Paul, this was a real treat to have you on the show and talking about the board games and just the creative process behind it. So thank you so much for taking time and meeting with me. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. It was a great chat. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Listeners, I'm going to put the links in the show notes so you can go ahead and check out the games. I checked out the games, the current list, and then some of the games that are coming out, and I'm really excited for them. So I'll put the link out there for that. And then leave us a review. We want to hear what you have to say about our show as well. So until next time, everyone, stay safe and game on. Bye.
Bye-bye.